Okay, it is September 29th, I think, and it's Art All Night. We're in Mount Pleasant. Could you tell us your name?
Sarah.
Sarah, I understand. Well, first of all, could you tell me your relationship to Mount Pleasant?
Yes, I've lived here off and on for the past 5 years, but I currently live here, so.
You currently live here?
Yes.
Excellent. I understand you have a story you'd like to share. Would you tell us about this story?
Yes. So I, a couple weeks ago, went to the farmer's market, as I usually do on Saturday mornings, and I run into a lot of my friends in the neighborhood, and I ran into my friend, Carlos, and he was in the middle of talking to someone, and he was like, "Oh, hey, Sarah, come meet Ian." And my brain immediately clicked. I knew who Ian was. It was Ian MacKaye, who's the lead singer of the famous legendary punk band Fugazi. And I completely freaked out, was so struck, and I'm even getting like goosebumps thinking about it right now. And I was like, "Oh my God, you're Ian MacKaye." And he's like, "It's Ian MacKaye." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, hi." And I ended up chatting with him for like an hour, and it was so lovely to just chat with him. I was super starstruck because I had been told by my landlord I live in the house where Fugazi lived in the 80s and 90s, and they would practice in the basement. And so I was like, "Oh, you lived in my house where I currently live." And he's like, "Where's your house?" And I told him the address, and he was like, "No, Bikini Kill lived in that house. I never lived in that house." So a different band lived in that house. But I was so blessed to talk to him and hope to run into him at a future farmer's market.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Okay, well, a couple more questions. First of all, that was an amazing story. What brought you to Mount Pleasant?
I came to DC 5 years ago and fell in love with the neighborhood. I was nannying in Mount Pleasant, and I loved its vibe. I loved the diversity. I loved the restaurants, the community feel. I loved its proximity to Rock Creek Park, the neighborhood feel, the events, the farmers market, the list goes on and on. So I knew I wanted to live here and eventually moved in, then went away for a little less than a year and then came back.
Have you seen any changes since you moved in 5 years ago?
Yeah, for sure. I think like lots of areas of DC, it's been gentrifying, and like that's visible to me even as a renter. Like I've seen things go up, and technically I am also a gentrifier, although I'm still renting here. And the neighborhood has definitely become more white, more affluent. And other changes, there's a new great pizza restaurant in the neighborhood. Yeah.
Do you, about those changes, my sense from listening to, are there some problematic parts to that? And what do you think could be done about, or do you think that anything could be done to kind of sustain the diversity that drew you here?
Yeah, I think we really need to do some work on affordable housing. I think that is really important because otherwise gentrification will just continue to happen. So I'd love to see some more affordable housing happen in the neighborhood, whether that be like keeping buildings the same and not being changed into like luxury apartment buildings, or just creating new spaces that are more affordable to people of different incomes.
And so in 5 years from now, where would you like to see Mount Pleasant?
I would like to see, on that note, I'd like to see greater level of like affordable housing. And I'd like to see a lot of the things I still see today, diverse, thriving community, the events that are put on, the library as like a mainstay, and I'd like to still be here.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Yeah, of course.